Definitely the wickedest thing I've heard in my life.
And the key then again is, I've got customers who said it's a good idea, it doesn't exist. That so makes everything easy in life when you can name names. Okay? Now, a little bit later I had a one-shot deal. This is again way back, mid-80s, when I was moving out of school and working on myself. I started working on other deals, that kind of stuff, and I had a one-shot deal. If I could get the license from King Feature Syndicate for Popeye the Sailor Man ceramic gift items, Hearst Corporation, King Feature Syndicate, then I could import the ceramics from Japan, one-shot deal. I 99% sure one-shot deal, and I could make a little slug of money. Okay, so went to Ida Goldman, King Feature Syndicate, New York City, and said, can I get the license, Popeye the Sailor Man, ceramic gift items? She went through her books and said, nobody has the license for that right now, so it's available, and there's a $25,000 advance on royalties. I'm not going to do that. So I did a version of what my bosses taught me earlier. I said, well, look, $25,000, I got to put in, stock and all that kind of stuff. Why don't we do it this way? If I haven't paid you $25,000 in royalties by the end of the first year, then you can yank the contract. Let's rewrite the contract on that basis. Tell me we have a deal. She thought about it. She said, okay, we'll work on that basis. So knowing that one-shot deal, I went and I had the license so that I could then buy the goods from Japan, import them, get it past customs. Here's my license from King Feature Syndicate, the copyright holder, to import Popeye the Sailor Man ceramics. Then I sold them to the customer, made my money, paid the royalties generated on that level of sales, $3,000 to King Feature Syndicate. I'm all done. There's no reorders. That 1% chance didn't pan out. I didn't care anyway. I made what I wanted out of it. Ida Goldman gets a check in New York City for $3,000, and she says, first quarter sales generates $3,000. How are you going to get to $25,000 by the end of the year? And I said, I'm not, because it turns out it's a one-shot deal. There is no reorders coming in. Too bad. And she goes, well, if that's the case, then I think I want to pull the license now. I said, fair enough. I'm happy to do it on that basis. Go ahead and pull the license. She pulls the license. She made money. I made money. She got the license back earlier than noted. All done. Everybody's happy. You follow that? If there's customers in place, things get so easy. You've got a concerned look on your face.
Oh, no, I'm actually
absorbing it.
I'm thinking about it and also thinking about other things important.
And how you would apply it, I hope, in other areas. Okay, so that's the getting those designers out there that are in the field right now. The third level is up until 1980 in the United States. It was taught in the business schools. It was a tenet in the law. It was absolute fact that there could be only one telephone company at a time. And I think I mentioned this last week with Ray Shattuck going into the food phones. Did I not? No, I did not. Well, there's only up until 1980. You were born after 1980, I trust.
86.
The world was a strange place. I'm telling you, the law schools believed it's called a natural monopoly. There could be only one telephone company at a time, or all telecommunications would fail. Okay? There was a telephone company in the United States. There was actually two different ones, GT&E, but they were at different locations because there could only be a natural monopoly. One telephone company, one place. Okay. So the biggest of them was called Ma Bell. And their logo, remember that, was a circle with a blue bell in it. And their advertising slogan was, we don't care, we don't have to, because they had a monopoly. So there was this guy that said, this is nonsense, your theory is wrong, fought it all the way up through the 60s and 70s and 1980, all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. And they said, well, he's right. That's nonsense, that national monopoly. So they broke it apart into 5 or 6 telephone companies called the Baby Bells. And this guy, his name was McGowan, I think, and then he started his company called MCI and became a billionaire off that, challenging the absolute nonsense in law and theory and what the business schools all taught, that there could only be one phone company at a time. Well, as soon as that happened, then the railroads, of course, proving the nonsense, all had their own phone companies. for themselves and all the communications they needed to do around the country. So they started their phone companies too. Southern Pacific Railroad International Network Telephone. Sprint, that's a railroad. So those kinds of things started going as well. So, right overnight, it's learned that there is no natural monopoly in phone calls. It just gets more, better, cheaper, faster if you deregulate and get rid of this nonsense of monopolies. So all these phone companies. Now, there's only, as I mentioned earlier tonight, there's only one phone company that makes phones, Western Electric, in the United States. But all over the world, there's phones made all over the world. So this guy here in Seattle, Ray Shattuck, comes to me and says, I want to get into phones. And you know what else they have overseas? Phones with no cord. You can walk around with no cords and talk on the telephone. No, get out of here. Yes. So where can I get one designed? I want to sell this in the United States market. I got to get into this business. So I said, well, University of Washington Engineering Department, electrical engineering, they got people over there. Fine, somebody will do it. So he found a master's candidate who had the drafting skills, do the schematics, could read the FCC regs. The parts of the phone are real easy electronics. So did a design for his cordless telephone. Turned it in as a term-paid project and got a grade on it there, and then turned it over to Ray on a royalty basis. And Ray took those designs, the best place in the world at the time, Hong Kong, to have the phones made, and began importing them into the United States. Now, here's a little side trick here. You go to Hong Kong at that time, things have changed since 1980 or whatever, but you go to Hong Kong to buy the phones. But the country of origin is Japan. Why? Because the electric parts, the components, are the expensive part. But in Hong Kong, where they do the extruded plastic housing, the less expensive part is where you're actually buying the extruded plastic housing. What it looks like is what you're buying. The parts are all the same, but the expensive parts come from Japan. So you go to Hong Kong to order and have your phones made, but the country of origin, the chief value, is the Japanese electronic guts of the phone. You follow that? And here again, we're going to the best place in the world, where the management pulls all these expensive things together and does it inexpensively for you. So Ray gets his phones, brings them back, takes them to the market. Everybody orders them up. Those minimum orders. He's out there. He's waiting for the reorders. Goes to get the reorders and no reorders. Heartbroken. No reorders. Well, why? Well, in the market, cordless telephone headsets went straight to commodity, competing on price. Everybody got into it because the insurance industries, governments, everybody wants a cordless telephone headset on the industrial side. So they're not going to buy them for the gift and housewares industry that he's going into. And home housewares and all that kind of stuff. So he's heartbroken. But they said, no. They do want phones. But now there's no longer, and everybody just had one phone in the house. That was it. Families, the whole family wanted one phone up until 1980. Okay? So now you can have as many phones as you want. And they want them in every room in the house. So what room? Well, they want the phones to look like the room they're in. In a library, they want the phone to be inside of a book. You open the book and hello? But the number one room in the house is the kitchen. And they want the phone to look like it belongs in the kitchen. Well, it belongs in the kitchen. Food.